I'm Yuta Kataoka from Ritsumeikan University in Japan. I will talk about our joint work with the University of Stuttgart, titled Perceived Weight of Mediated Reality Sticks. In this talk, we investigate mediated reality sticks, real sticks whose mass and shape remain unchanged, while their apparent length is altered using augmented and diminished reality. We want to see how these visual changes influence how heavy the sticks feel and where people perceive the center of gravity. We virtually shortened, extended, or removed part of the stick, and found that perceived weight changed with virtual length, but not with cutouts, and could be explained by rotational inertia derived from the reported COG. Mediated reality visually changes real objects while preserving their physical properties, combining augmented and diminished reality. Extensive research has investigated how visual cues influence the perceived weight of objects in an AR environment. However, DR visual haptics has been less studied than those in AR, and the effects of AR and DR have typically been studied independently. This background motivated us to use mediated reality to investigate how various visual changes influence our perceived weight. Here is a real stick. We can first remove a part of this stick using diminished reality, and subsequently add new information through augmented reality. We call such visually edited sticks mediated reality sticks. The physical stick itself was never changed, so any difference in sensation comes from visual manipulation. Based on the existing cross-modal research, we hypothesized that sticks with the same mass but different visual lengths would induce different weight perceptions. Our research question was, how do visually stretched or partially removed sticks affect perceived weight? To answer this, we collected perceived weight ratings and reported COG positions to understand how participants experienced the sticks. Our intuition from the size-weight illusion suggests mediated reality sticks of different apparent lengths influence perceived weight. In this illusion, smaller objects feel heavier than larger ones of equal mass. However, it remains unclear how much apparent length affects perceived weight. Visual effects have also been investigated for object estimation of the center of gravity. Previous research has reported a shape COG illusion, where overlaying a larger virtual container shifts the perceived center of gravity. We examine how altering the visible length of a stick affects how participants perceive its COG in mediated reality sticks. We conducted two main experiments. Experiment 1 used stretch sticks. The virtual stick was either shortened or extended, while the physical stick remained. Experiment 2 introduced cutout sticks, where a central portion of the virtual stick was removed. Our mediated reality system used a Canon M-Real video see-through head-mounted display. We tracked the head and the stick using magnetic sensors. The stick was a 60-centimeter ABS plastic pipe, weighing 100 grams with an embedded sensor. To create the mediated reality environment, we photographed the laboratory and built a 3D replica using photogrammetry software. We registered a 3D stick model onto the tracked stick to virtually extend the stick. We also overlaid the replica of the rendered scene onto the stick to partly remove it. In Experiment 1, we tested 5 virtual lengths from 20 to 100 centimeters using the same 60-centimeter physical stick. 10 male participants volunteered for the study. For weight evaluation, participants swung each stick and reported its perceived weight relative to the 60-centimeter reference. Each length was rated 3 times. In a separate session, the same participants reported the perceived COG for all 5 lengths. This video illustrates how participants performed the estimation task. Each participant gripped the physical stick horizontally and swung it. Participants swung the stick at a constant rhythm. Here we show a virtually shortened stick. Although the participant holds the same physical stick, The mediated reality rendering makes the stick appear shorter. In Experiment 2, we tested cutout sticks with 5 removal lengths from 0 to 40 centimeters. The no cutout condition served as the reference for weight rating. 10 male participants, distinct from those in Experiment 1, completed the study. The evaluation procedure was the same as Experiment 1. Participants swung each cutout stick and rated its weight relative to the reference, and also reported the perceived COG. This video shows a cutout stick. The participant continues to hold the physical stick, but the middle portion is visually removed. Participants waved the stick and then reported its weight and perceived COG. We used the magnitude estimation method for perceptual evaluation. Participants first waved the 60 centimeter reference stick, defined as weight 100, and then reported the weight of each test stick relative to this reference. For the COG measurement, participants moved a red dot along the stick using keyboard keys until it matched their perceived COG. This slide summarizes the results for the stretched stick conditions. The left graph plots perceived weight for virtual lengths of 20, 40, 80, and 100 centimeters relative to the 60 centimeter reference. The red dashed line marks the reference weight of 100. The right graph plots the perceived COG positions for the same lengths, with the red dashed line indicating the physical COG of the real stick. The results reveal a clear length-dependent illusion. Participants rated shorter sticks as heavier and longer sticks as lighter. Statistical analysis confirmed significant differences between the shorter and longer conditions. Participants tended to mark the COG of the longer sticks further from the hand, and of the shorter sticks closer to the hand, but these shifts were subtle and not significant. Hence, visually stretching or shortening a stick mainly affects perceived weight, with limited impact on reported COG. This slide summarizes the cutout stick results. Across the 4 removal lengths of 10, 20, 30, and 40 centimeters, the perceived weight and COG positions were not strongly influenced by the size of the removed segment. Statistical tests showed that only the largest removal of 40 centimeters differed significantly from the 20 centimeter and 10 centimeter removals in terms of perceived weight. Similarly, the perceived COG of the 40 centimeter removal differed from all other conditions, whereas no differences were found among the remaining conditions. These findings suggest that visually removing a middle segment does not substantially change perceived weight or COG position. Only an extreme removal produces a difference. For more analysis, we consider rotational inertia to interpret the weight illusion. Previous studies show that perceived weight increases with inertia. We hypothesized that the perceived weight of mediated reality sticks could be predicted from inertia based on the reported COG. For each condition, we calculated inertia using the physical stick's midpoint and using the participants' reported COG. When inertia was computed from the reported COG, perceived weight increased monotonically with inertia, and the linear fit was strong. By contrast, assuming that the stick's COG was at its physical midpoint, produced a poorer fit. For the cutout sticks, calculating inertia from the reported COG again resulted in a better fit than using the physical midpoint. These results indicate that participants base their sense of heaviness on the perceived COG rather than the physical center. In conclusion, we introduced mediated reality sticks and investigated how changing their apparent length influences perceived weight and COG. We found that visually stretching a stick makes it feel lighter, and shortening it makes it feel heavier. Cutting out a middle segment had little effect on either perceived weight or COG. The correlation between perceived weight and rotational inertia derived from the reported COG suggests that visual appearance guides heaviness judgments. These findings underscore the importance of visual cues in haptic perception, particularly in augmented and diminished reality. Future work will explore other shapes, analyze muscle activity, and recruit more diverse participants.